Level 3.1, picking hand position for the electric guitar. And the main difference between my electric versus acoustic students when it comes to the picking hand has to be the way that I have them positioning their palm for electric players up against the bridge of the guitar versus my acoustic players whom I have positioned the hand halfway over the sound hole and halfway over the wood. And we'll talk about that in level 3.2. But for now, we're going to focus on making contact with that bridge because we're going to use that bridge for stability as we pivot off of it to play single notes. Now, if you remember your first guitar lesson back in level 1, we talked about the importance of maintaining good alignment with our instrument. And in particular, maintaining a straight wrist, because a straight wrist gives us a strong hand. So to preserve that, I want you to imagine splitting your guitar from corner all the way to the other corner, and that's going to give you about a 45-degree angle. Your hand is going to run diagonal to the strings at that same angle. And to do that, you're going to position your forearm, not the bicep, but the forearm, over the edge or the lip of the guitar in such a way that your palm can rest up against that bridge. And you'll be preserving that same line from the top of the forearm through the base of the thumb, all the way through the tip of the thumb. It's not exactly 45 degrees, but it's not this, and it's not this. Those are too extreme. You want it about right there, and that's the optimal position for your picking hand. When picking, you'll be moving from the wrist. Not from the elbow, that's for strumming, and we'll get into that later on. But it's important to keep your hand in a neutral position. If the hand is up like this, you can't go up any further. And likewise, if it's down like this, you can't go any lower. So you want to make sure that your hand's in a neutral position so that you can move comfortably with room to spare on both sides. And that's going to allow you to play the strings comfortably when using alternate picking. And from the side view, you can see how I'm using the palm up against the bridge, providing a pivot point for my down and up strokes. The forearm is over the edge of the guitar, the rest of the arm is lightly against the body, but that palm is securely up against that bridge, providing stability. And finally, the pick attack. Once again, we're moving from the wrist, not the elbow. That's for strumming. Now, hopefully you studied level 2 on how to hold the pick, and we're combining that content with this level, picking hand alignment, to perform this technique. And if you're executing those properly, you're already set up for success. I'm going to hold the pick wrong on purpose. Notice as I play the down pick, the head of the pick is striking the string. And when I return on the upstroke, the back of the pick is striking the string. What you don't want is for both ends to strike the string at the same time. Now I see country players do this. They want this for that poppy type sound, but it gets hung up on the string when you play it this way. If you turn it this way, for general playing, this is much easier. It's a lot smoother because you have less surface area of the pick striking the string, so it glides easily across the string. Now the reason we hold it this way, with just a little bit exposed, is so that you can play on the very tip of the pick, providing even less surface area to get hung up on the string. But it all goes back to proper angles. And if you've got that 45-degree angle running all the way through the base of the thumb into the tip of the thumb, then the pick will do the same thing and provide those angles for the pick attack. Your first picking exercise will have you playing down and up strokes, 8 notes per string. And to do this, you're going to employ a technique called string crossing. And that's because we're moving from one string to the next string. To do this, you want to move your palm up and down the bridge. So you're just riding up and down the bridge like this. Notice I'm using my elbow to pull the hand up and to push the hand down. I'm not doing this. I'm staying along that bridge. And by doing so, I'm preserving that angle of attack that we talked about earlier. What you don't want to do is to lock your hand on the bridge and use your wrist to find the string. When that happens, when you run out of room, you have nowhere to go. And that's because your wrist is already in the up position. You can't move up any further. We want to keep that wrist in a neutral position so that we have room for both up and down strokes. So when you pull that palm up to find the bass strings, you keep that same angle of attack. The little E string should feel the same as the big E string. We use the wrist for playing the string. We use the elbow to find the string. And finally, I want to make you aware of the 3 dreaded wobbles. And these are 3 things that can hurt your picking hand. So by being aware of them, you can correct them before you play your first exercise. All you have to do is imagine a ceiling fan with a broken or missing blade and how inefficient that fan would be. And the same thing can be applied to your picking hand. And the first of these is a dynamic wobble. And that means that your downstroke is louder than your upstroke. You're putting too much pressure on the down and not enough on the up. So when you're playing this exercise, make sure that your down and your up are equal volume. The second wobble is a rhythmic wobble. Not only is it inefficient, it just sounds slow. If you play in perfect rhythm, it actually sounds faster than playing the same rhythm or the same tempo with a wobble. And so for that reason, we're going to work with the metronome. We want to work with the count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to get that started early, and your drummer will thank you for it in the future. And then finally is a distance wobble. That's a case where your downstroke is much longer than your upstroke. So you're going way down and you're short on the way up. And you can imagine how that would create instability in the picking hand. So to correct that, just make both down and up strokes as small as possible. You don't have to move very far. You're working too hard if you're doing this. Try to keep everything as close to the strings as possible. That's less movement, which means more speed for you. And it'll correct that distance wobble. Okay, it's time to get to work. We're going to play 8 notes per string, and we're going to use the metronome. I've got it set for 60 beats per minute. And if that's too fast, you can always slow me down on the media player. Now, if it's too slow for you, you can always speed me up on the media player or practice with your own metronome. And we're going to go all the way up the strings, and then we're going to come all the way back down the strings. Remember, we're moving right along that bridge to preserve that angle of attack. I'll give an 8 count, and we'll begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.